Hi, I'd like to call today's meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Member Ciosciolo is absent. Member Corr? Here. Member Lamb?
Here.
Member Orozco?
Here.
Member Pretty?
Here.
Member Quilty?
Here.
President Domi?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna go ahead and adjourn to, or excuse me, actually before that, are there any comments on items on the closed session?
We did not receive any.
Perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and adjourn to closed session.
And not get it wrong.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and recall to open session. Can we stand for the pledge of allegiance? Salute.
Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As far as agenda reorganization, is there any items for reorganization? Okay, there's one that we do need to move, there's a request to move 12I from the consent agenda and put it after 13K. Any questions on that? No? Okay. And then, reporting out of closed session, there's one item. The board voted by a unanimous vote to reject a claim and to give the claimant notice of the denial. And member Ciosciolo was absent from closed session. Okay. Student reports?
Good evening, board members and audience members. Since the last meeting, YC has hosted many events and has had many wins as well. February 4th, the YC Wrestling competed in the CDC League Championships. The YC Just Poker Wrestling team advanced 9 wrestlers to the SJD2 tournament. We had 4 in the finals, and we had Roman Orozco and Just Karensin become all league champions. Israel and Gabriel Sparks both placed second at this tournament as well. At divisionals, 5 juniors, Maddox Farmer, Israel, Roman Orozco, Jalen White, and Shamika Smith all qualified to move on to the Sac Joaquin Masters. Junior Jalen White then moved on to the state championships, which was last weekend. We're so extremely proud of our wrestlers this season for putting in so much hard work, and we're excited to see them wrestle as seniors next year. Spring sports has now begun. Our softball players and baseball players are starting off their season tonight with home games. And Friday the 8th, we held a Valentine's Day rally to get our students ready for our Sadie Sweetheart dance. We had a good turnout at the rally, which was later reciprocated at the dance the next day, and it was a lot of fun, and honkers really got into the Valentine's Day spirit. We have a staff versus student basketball game coming up to keep our relationships between your teachers and students really close and fun. And then we're hosting a food fair in April for clubs and orgs to fundraise. And our college admissions are starting to roll in for our seniors, which is super anxious and exciting. 3 of our honkers were actually accepted early into UC Berkeley, which they're like top of the class. They were Jaden Burton, Yesenia Ochoa, and then Reed Baines, which they were all accepted. That means they're top of the applicant pool. That's all. I hope you guys have a good night. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When's the April Food Fair?
It is April 22nd at lunch.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, staff recognition?
In continuation with our CARE program, Rob Hope will introduce and support. Okay, sorry.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, staff, and audience. Happy to be here tonight to recognize some exceptional district staff who shape our culture of excellence. We know that staff recognition increases productivity, promotes employee retention, and encourages continuous improvement, all of which has a positive impact on our students who are our top priority. This helps us achieve our mission statement of preparing the foundation for each student to build tomorrow's world. With that tonight, we have two departments. We have the Children's Center Department and Andrews Carperos School. We'll start with Director Ubashauer from the Children's Center program.
Yeah.
Good evening, Governing Board and audience members. It's an absolute privilege and honor to be here tonight to recognize two outstanding employees. The first one is Ms. Sharon G. Takar. Ms. Takar has been with our Child Development Program for almost 25 years, where she works as a Child Development Assistant at Lincoln Preschool. She is very highly regarded at Lincoln Preschool with children and staff alike. And she has nurtured preschoolers for generations. One of her favorite former preschool students is her son, who is joining her today in the back. Her son tells me that his mom would always give the kids extra chocolate milk. One of the many reasons kids love her. Her dedication and admiration for children is clearly evident in everything she does. During her tenure, she has taught literally thousands of children and still continues to love what she does. Her attendance is impeccable. She will never miss work. Working alongside her amazing team of colleagues at Lincoln Preschool, Ms. Takar provides a loving, safe, engaging learning environment for her students, and our preschoolers at Lincoln Preschool thrive. She is very professional, kind and loving, and just genuinely a wonderful person. Every time you are in Ms. Takar's company, we tend to smile because she radiates that happiness in us all. And I know when she comes up here, she'll make you smile too. Congratulations, Sharon G. Our Child Development Program is very happy to have you on our team. Ms. Takar.
Adorable. So cute.
I can introduce you.
Absolutely. Let's get all this up. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Our next recipient of employee recognition is Ms. Alma Perez. Ms. Perez has had 37 years in ECE with over 25 in our district. She is an extremely dedicated educator and preschool teacher who literally always puts students first. She strives hard to build and sustain positive relationships with her family and helps our program build bridges from home to school. And I'm not kidding about this. She will hold Thanksgiving feasts, Christmas performances, Mother's Day events, Cinco de Mayo, Diwali celebrations, and a graduation ceremony for our preschool, a mother's tea. She does everything, and our custodians work very hard with folding chairs to make those events happen. Her events are always well attended, almost 100% of families every time, and it's wonderful to see so many smiling faces and to get back to parental involvement activities after COVID. In addition, Alma has been a Yuba College mentor for ECE providers for over a quarter of a century, and she helps recruit and sustain ECE leaders to work in Yuba City Unified, and we have hired many of her former students that she mentored. Although she has been a teacher for over 30 years, she still has the enthusiasm and passion for teaching as a first-year teacher. Where she gets the energy, I will never know, but we are so grateful for all the incredible events and quality programs she puts on for our youngest learners in our community. Congratulations, Alma. Thank you, Lord.
Next, we have Principal Rocco Greco from Andros Carperos School.
Do you guys need the microphone for recording purposes? All right. Fair. Okay, we have 2 awards tonight that we're going to be giving out. I'm going to save this one till second. So this first award, unfortunately, he's not here with us tonight. He was going to try to rush over and make it. But on top of the amazing work he does here, he works in the evenings with adult students doing credit recovery and other things to be able to help the community. So our first candidate up tonight for award is Mr. Nick Monroe. Nick is our elementary PE specialist at the school, but he's so much more than that than everyone at the school. I wish he was here to see that picture. He defined himself in an IEP today as just a really mean guy, so they listen to me. But if you've ever seen Nick teach or seen him around a campus, he is not a mean guy. He is the biggest caring heart around. When you get to a school, I know Mr. Rogers used to have a saying, if you look for the helpers, the people who are going to do the things to help you make the mission. And Nick's one of those guys who does that. If he ever misses work or has to be out, he's not the guy who just calls in a sub and leaves it. Like, he makes sure to talk to every single grade level, make sure every single person has coverage, knows when their preps are going to be if he has to rearrange it. On top of that, he will take some of our hardest kids and make sure that they have kind of special roles in his class to kind of help facilitate some of the things we're doing with that. He's the first person. We have some traditions, Walk of Fame. He's out there in the morning getting it all set up for us before we get out to do that. He breaks it down. He's just one of those people that I swear he's got like a bug in every place where he's listening and just knows what you need. And all of a sudden he just kind of shows up like, hey, I took care of that for you. So that's the kind of guy he is around campus. He makes the job easier to do. And on top of the adult needs of making our jobs easier to do, when you see him with kids, it's the greatest thing. So Friday morning when they're out doing all of our patriotic activities, making sure that like citizenship, patriotism is part of our day, you can see it when he's leading the flag salute, all the kids. When you survey our kids and you ask like, who are the safe people, who is someone on campus you know you can talk to, his name will come up repeatedly over and over again. So he is, I was hoping he would walk in so I can embarrass him because he hates any kind of things like this. But he's just an amazing asset to the campus. If you ever have a chance and you're on our campus and you get to go out and watch him teach, it's just from the littlest littles to the biggest bigs. He mentors, he helps some of our new incoming PE teachers. He's an all-around player for the team. He does amazing things, and we are super fortunate to have him at AK. So Mr. Nick Monroe.
He comes in early too on the days he's going to be out to set up.
He does. Yeah, he takes care of the staff like they are his own family. Like, he makes sure everything is taken care of. And the second person who makes sure everything is taken care of at AK. So AK, for those of you who have maybe not spent a lot of time on our campus, I know when I first got there almost 2 years ago, I was like, wow, I've been here and been to the office. This place is massive, like 27,000 steps a day, massive. And in that, we have just over 140 employees. If you take PIP, you take all the things, it's like a small city that you're running, close to 1,300 kids. You've got all these programs that are kind of in and out, and that takes a hub. So usually, and I'm gonna bring her up while I talk about her, Kathy Day, why don't you come on up? So, I don't know.
Sorry, I'm not in my AK gear.
Yeah. We match, it's okay. We didn't either one did it. Our phone calls or our texts usually start somewhere around 6 in the morning in this post-COVID world. I think not just school districts, but everywhere, there's some people struggling to find motivation again, struggling to find a reason to be at work every single day and do the things they need to. So with over 140 people on campus, we usually start pretty early with how are we going to cover this? Who can we move here? How can that happen? So we usually start as each person's getting, well, she's probably at the gym doing something better than me. 4:50, yeah. Trying to talk her husband into joining at the gym as well. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to get everything covered. You get to school and we usually have certificated covered, then we're working on classified, kind of the people that you hear from a little bit later on what's going on, trying to make sure that every student has what they need for every single day. That starts very early, and usually as we're finishing that off, the other thing I would say that Kathy does that I know this is for me personally, so energy contained can power the world. Energy not contained is like an explosion, and I can go either way on any given day. So Kathy is kind of the yin to my yang. Like, I've always got 9 million ideas, I'm running around, but in order for that to work, for me to be on campus to do the things I think I need to do, I need to have a general in the front who kind of runs the whole entire show. Someone who makes sure people are where they need to be, make sure that like when it's time for me to actually sit down and sign things, that I do it, and that I read it, and that I make sure to sign on every single dot. And that's not just for the basic little stuff, that's for everything, for the human things, kind of knowing the pulse of what's going on, keeping me abreast as to what I missed while I was out in classrooms or doing the other things. Kathy does all that as well. It's been almost 2 years at AK. Kathy has yet to miss a day in the whole time I've been there, and I'm very fortunate on that because if Kathy was out, I don't know. We would just kind of hope that everything got covered in a day, but I don't know that anyone could do everything that she does in a given day, and especially the mornings. The lineup of everyone that kind of comes in to check in with her to get their day started, maybe needs a little pump up talk, all the substitutes that are coming in that we're welcoming, trying to make sure they get what they need, and a lot of times rearranging what they thought. So she's got to be the charming, like, hey, I know you signed up for junior high, but have you met first graders? They're pretty awesome. We could use them in first grade today. So Kathy does all those things and so much more with a smile on her face and sometimes an attitude to hold me in line when I need it. But Kathy is the heart and soul of AK, and I know that I wouldn't be where I'm at today at the school if it wasn't for the things she did. So congratulations.
Alright, so I think that's it for staff recommendations. Give everybody a couple minutes if they'd like to exit.
Thank you.
Oh, it's the ones that wasn't in.
It might be it.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Rocco. If he's done, we can take it tomorrow. He's just gonna be downstairs.
That's funny.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to reports and information, facilities update.
Yeah, so I will introduce Mr. Mark Button, our Director of Facilities and Maintenance. He will start off giving an update on our facilities and kind of some of the thoughts over the next couple years here. And I have a couple slides just on the funding at the end of the presentation that I'll go through as well. So Mark, you to start it.
Okay, great. Well, good evening. So I'm going to run through kind of our status, where we're at with the current projects this year, and then kind of look at those projects going forward. So, yeah, so this is the projects that have been completed in the 23-24 budget cycle. And so I'm kind of going through the larger projects, so you see what we did. So we had three major roof projects that we did, and together with Park, Berry, and Lindcrest, it ended up being about $789,000. And that's just just keeping track or keeping up with our maintenance, roof maintenance requirements. And then flooring, we ended up doing the multipurpose rooms. Oh, not the other. So we ended up doing the multipurpose rooms at View Vista and River Valley High School, and then Gray Avenue. And those ended up totaling, along with the classroom furniture, $754,000. So it's a chunk of money that went to the facilities. And then shade structures, we spent over $4 million. The playground structures, we spent $7.8 million. And then the other large one down there is the April Lane front office renovation, which was $709,000. So the projects.
Can I hit that?
Yeah.
Just go back one. So I just want to clarify one thing. The play structures and shade structures are paid for out of the one-time COVID. Are they both out of COVID, or is one out of LCAP?
The LCAP was the play structures.
Play structures, LCAP, shade structures, COVID dollars. So they're paid for $14 million is not what we usually spend in a year on these types of things, but they're paid for out of restricted one-time dollars.
So the next slide is just pictures of the multipurpose rooms that were completed. And a lot of that, I think I reviewed too fast there. So, and I went through it when we proposed these projects. A lot of this was due because of the water damage that tile was experienced through the concrete, the penetration in the concrete, so they really need to be done. And then we did put down moisture seals, so we should have a long enduring project now, long lasting project. And the other is playgrounds. So we completed fully completed, 10 sites, all the sites that we had on our list. So all the playgrounds are done and are completed at this point. And then the shade structures, right now we have 11 sites done. I'll talk in a minute. We have 4 more to finish up. They're done and completed.
So does the money that you show here, does that include the 4 that are left to finish up, or is it
No,
just?
that'll be in the next budget. I'll show that in a minute.
Thank you.
And then the active projects, so those are the completed projects through the 23-24 fiscal year. These are the projects that are still going on that we'll have to wrap up by the end of June. So we have the mechanical equipment at Bridge and Yuba City High School. And as you can see, both those projects are just under, $800,000. And this is a picture of what you see the bridge at Bridge Street. So you don't see this very often, you guys not up on the roads. So this is the new equipment that's costing us a lot of money that the district's investing in these facilities. And this is what we're getting for that money. New equipment that's gonna last us at least 20, 25 years. And then we have the warehouse generator. That project started about 3 years ago. And just because of delays getting generators, it's been delayed this long out. We have received the generator. Now we're working on the permitting, and it goes through the permit cycle. So we should be installing that pretty quick. And then April Lane, we have had problems in the past with our electrical main distribution panel. It's tripped out, and to prevent it from being a major problem, we want to get it replaced. And that right now is also a long lead time. But that's expected to be here around April, May. And then we still have some classroom furniture, our classroom flooring with the new furniture that we'll be doing. So we still have over $1 million of work remaining this fiscal year. Okay. So going into these are the proposed projects going into the next fiscal year, 24-25. And on these, and kind of highlight the major ones as we go through it. The major one's going to be the roofing with Riverbend, and I'll show a picture of that and explain that in a little bit more detail in a second. With both roofing projects at Yuba City High School and Riverbend, we're about $800,000. And then flooring is another large item with River Valley High School and Yuba City High School, sanding down, refinishing, painting, and then put a seal on top of the gym floors. We're looking at close to $290,000. And then painting, this will be probably the starting, being a little more aggressive on painting projects. We're going to be into Terraforming the Gray Avenue and Yuba City High School and do the permanent buildings, not the modulars, the permanent buildings. And they really need painting pretty bad. Let's go through and upgrade those buildings. And then the down there, I've added in here, just so to clarification, we got furniture, fixtures, and equipment, which will be added in our annual budgets. So it's not the classroom furniture. The furniture, fixtures, and equipment is going to be like cafeteria tables, window coverings, benches, other objects that they need in the facilities. So it's just a typical term that they use as furniture, fixtures, and equipment. We haven't really allocated funds for that in the past, but going forward, we're going to need those. And then that ends up being the $300,000 projected, proposed for 24-25. And then the 2 projects outside of that are the shade structures to finish up. We're looking at about $1.8 million. We still have AK, April Lane, Albert Powell, and Lincoln's finished. Those are the 4 that have to be finished up. And then there's also funds available that we'll be managing through facilities is kitchen upgrades, and the projects are still being prioritized. So we haven't really determined the project at this point, but there's $1.3 million that'll need to be spent next year.
So we have dedicated funding for kitchen infrastructure, which we usually don't get. So this is grant funding that we're able to put to work into our food, student nutrition system. So.
Okay. So this one is, I want to kind of explain this, because we're spending a lot of money, $620,000 at Riverbend proposing to spend. So in 2019, we replaced the front of it, the front 2 buildings right there with no black surrounding it. Those are the administration library. In 2019, we replaced those roofs because they were rusting out because of the solar panels that were adhered to the roofing, the metal. This proposal is to do the gym and the multi-purpose room, which is right behind it. And I have kind of an H in yellow, and that's actually the built-up roof that'll also need replaced and the equipment wells. Those are just equipment wells for the mechanical equipment. And now the built-up roof, you can see it up in the upper corner, right at corner, it needs to be replaced at this point. And then you can see the metal roof, because of the adhesion, the solar panels that were adhered onto the metal, it shortened the life tremendously on these roofs. These roofs should be, 40, 50-year roofs. And now we're at a point where we have to replace them. So the other buildings, you also see have the same solar panels. Those aren't rusting at this point, primarily because we have a ridge cap on it, and they actually put the solar panels under the ridge cap, so water's not getting underneath them. And then where the multipurpose room and the gym, that wasn't done. So the tops of the panels were left open, so the rain just naturally poured under the solar panels, and that's where you're seeing the rust on those panels. And we just gotta replace them because the integrity is obviously compromised with the rust coming through. And then the flooring project is another big project. And the upper floor is River Valley High School. We're at a point where we do need to do a sanding, get down to the panels, and then refinish it. This is typical, between 15 and 20 years, depends on how heavy the use is of the flooring. And with our community use, everything else, these floors are heavily used. So we're at a point now where we need to refinish this floor. And then the lower one's auxiliary gym in Yuba City High School. So you can even see where the planks are worn down to a point, the paint, everything else. We're at a point where we just gotta take it down, sand it down to the wood, refinish it, and then restripe it, and then reseal it. So that's a project that'll be occurring this summer. Okay. So these are just the shade structures. And some of this you've seen before. So AK, we're looking at 2 shade structures, kind of in the center of the campus, next to the food court, next to where the modulars are. And then we have April Lane, which is actually put back by the playground and the field. And then we have Albert Powell, which we put back on the asphalt section down the school. And then Lincoln, which we put in the grass section, back where the playground is. And we also have to deal with the surface. We have that large sand pit at Lincoln, and that's obviously just attracting a lot of cats and creating a lot of problems. So that'll be refinished too during this project. So then proposed going forward at 25-26, just looking ahead, we're gonna have to look at the AK roofing, the science wing. It's gonna be re-roofed for like $320,000. We've been experiencing a lot of leaks there the last few years, so it's at a point where we have to do a lot of metal work, redo the metal work. It wasn't properly done on the flashes, except for the building was built, constructed originally. And then flooring, we're looking at the river bend. That's where we talked about the river bend gym. Oh no, the river bend gym. So river bend gym will be added, because right now the river bend, actually you're starting to see the paint lift up, and the same thing we're having in River Valley. And then Barry MP floor replacement, repairs district-wide. Mechanical, we're looking at Yuba City High School, an AK for multipurpose room, mechanical equipment upgrades. And the big one there is start looking at site work. We do have a lot of site work that needs to be done in our schools. We're kind of prioritizing roofing and prioritizing flooring, but we got to start chipping away at it. And I put in there on the site work, I put work around LRFP, which means a long-range facility plan. So if long-range facility plan has sections identified as redoing, then we will work around those areas, not duplicate or not do something that's going to be
Thank you.
twirling.
I was wondering that. Thank you for clarifying that. It was going to be a question.
Yeah, so that's why it's work around the long-range facility plan. And then, but there's just a lot of work needs to be done. It's sidewalks and the parking lots are in pretty bad shape. Yeah, then 26, 27, let's get another year out. And then you see that more in there, that long-range facility plan coordination. To make sure we have that with our roofing, make sure we have that with our site work too, primarily. So that's the proposed budgets. And then next is you, Scott.
Okay. So first of all, I just want to thank you, Mark. So Mark, since Mark's been here, he's just been able to get a ton done and really bring our facilities, I would say, back from a little bit of a neglect. And his operating budget for some of these big deferred maintenance projects is roughly about this $3 million plan. We've been trying to just kind of get into this pattern of identifying 2-3 years in advance so Mark can do his planning, ordering, and all that kind of stuff and keep the board informed as to what we're doing. Mark checks in with, administration, the sites, the principals, what the needs are, what the complaints he's seeing, what his facilities guys are saying. So this is, it's a lot of kind of input that we're receiving to identify these projects. So I just want to thank you for all your efforts along there. So we're going to talk about.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's two things I was kind of looking for that I don't see on here. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. One is getting onto the campus at Lincoln School is a weird maze. Did I miss seeing that?
That's a priority and now that.
Yeah, so you didn't miss that. We're really trying to draw a distinction between maintenance. So maintenance is maintaining what we currently have,
Okay.
and then we have a lot of needs, and you're hitting one of them right there. Absolutely, we have a lot of things that we need to, what I would consider improvements, right? And that's more of what. That's a little bit into the kind of weeds, but that's why we're doing this whole long-range facilities master plan. We have a lot of needs, and that's one of them, absolutely.
The other one I was looking for was lights at River Valley for the baseball field.
Also an improvement, so we have to prioritize as we have money for improvements. We're maintaining what we have with these dollars, and it's what kind of improvements are we gonna make, and that's where we need to prioritize what are we gonna do that's new and an addition to our facilities.
Okay, well, thank you. I missed it.
No, that's good. But I mean, that's kind of the distinction that we're really trying to draw is like, we need to maintain our facilities and then we also need to improve them, right? So that's.
To piggyback off of what Charlotte was saying, what's the projection of you're giving us a 3-year projection of what the needs are for the improvement piece. There's two things that Shelley mentioned. Let's say that the board agrees that they want those 2 improvements done. What would we be looking at as far as when we can fit those in time-wise?
Well, that's going to take more than the dollars that we have right now. So that's a little bit of a that's something that we're going to have to work through when we get into implementing. So prioritize what are the first things to get done. We have some funds on hand, but not to make much of a dent in our long-range facilities plans, but we do have some funds that we could target for those, for quicker projects, I guess.
When would it be appropriate to go over what I guess the board would deem as a priority? When would that be appropriate to discuss?
I don't know. We can. I think that's a conversation that we need to talk to Doreen and figure out what the next steps are.
Well, I think you have an item on action tonight regarding the long-range facility plan, which would be the first step, and then the next step would be the implementation of where do we start? So I think Mark is talking about deferred maintenance and just maintaining our buildings. LPA will present our long-range plan, and then I think that will launch into a conversation of what are going to be our priorities for improvements.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. So this kind of first slide is just very generic, but you saw those 2 first numbers, the 24-25 $3 million number and the 25-26. Really, that is just a deferred maintenance budget that tracks with what we have been doing, and we just escalate at 3% a year. I think we have 3% a year in there to start getting some, because things cost more each year, right? If you want to do the same level of maintenance. So that's just kind of looking at how what the numbers kind of escalate to. And this is next slide. So this is kind of hard to distinguish with the colors there. But we really have 2 funding sources. We have Fund 49, which is really Melrose tax collections that is meant for, I would say, the intention of that is more to increase capacity of our school sites, but it can be used for some larger maintenance issues. That's how we've been using it to some degree. We need to wean off of using those dollars for maintenance for 2 reasons. It's not really the primary intention of those funds, and those funds are going away. We need to get our deferred maintenance, what we currently have, out of our general fund. So what I'm trying to depict there is those are the numbers escalating that we just showed in that table. And over time, we need to wean off of this Fund 49, which is Melrose, and start using Fund 14. Fund 14, there's the only funding source for deferred maintenance is our general fund. So we need to start putting some money away if we're gonna continue this funding source, over the long run. So I have a pretty long time range to wean off of using the Melrose taxes. You can see this goes out through 35, 36, but it means each year we're gonna have to start upping the amount that we use on deferred maintenance. So this is, my ideas on how to really continue to fund our deferred maintenance is we're gonna have to really work that into our budget and be intentional about what we're doing with maintenance going forward. You're not committing to doing this today, but these are my thoughts on how to get there over the long run. And then, of course, later in the presentation, we're going to talk about all the things that this district could use as far as improvements. That's, and you've already seen that in a couple, LPAs presented a couple times. So this is really, at this point, kind of the last step of or one of the final steps of the long range plan.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Please.
So if I'm looking at this for the 24-25 school year, which is the school year we're moving into.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. In order to maintain our buildings and the proposed projects that Mark is proposing, we need $6.1 million to do those projects. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. So $3 million coming from the Fund 49. The KIT funds are funding a portion of that, and the other is funded also, I think, out of a restricted resource. Is that
The IPI, those shared structures. I think it's the in-person instruction grant.
we have another restricted resource. So none of those funds that for 24-25, because we're right there building this budget, are expected to come out of Fund 1 at this point. But moving forward, we need a transition plan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
More questions?
Thanks, Mark.
Next item would be your LCAP report.
Good evening, school board, audience. So we have a couple documents. So in Diligent, in the board agenda, there's a 32-page document, exciting document. It's the actual official template for the mid-year update for the LCAP. In that template, we have all of our indicators. I've already talked about the data twice the last 2 months. It's the same information I talked about previously, our current data. But it does outline our year 1, our year 2, our mid-year data this year, and our desired outcome in the far right category on that document in your guys' board agenda. So what I did is I took that significant document and kind of condensed it a little, so we won't be here until midnight. So just as a reminder, this is the end of our 3-year LCAP this year, and starting next year, 24-25, we have a brand new 3-year LCAP. We're currently in the process of engaging our educational partners, providing surveys, meeting on LCAP advisory committees, meeting with our parent committee, meeting with students, just getting feedback from everybody on the priorities moving forward in the school district. So like I said, that's 3-year LCAP. Those are our current LCAP goals right there. We have 3 goals. Moving forward in our new LCAP, the board developed in conjunction with cabinet 3 new goals that are pretty well aligned to these 3 current goals. These talk about parent engagement, student engagement, feeling connected to campus for our kids, a comprehensive educational program, and basic services, implementing California state standards, and accessing a broad study of courses. We have 8 priorities in the LCAP, and so our 3 goals have to touch upon those 8 priorities. So thanks. Thank you. So goal 1 is referenced previously, basic services, broad access to study, implementing the state standards. So we have 5 action items, and across we have our action items, our progress, and then we have our budgeting for it. So this year, we had around 38 million budgeted in our supplemental concentration for LCAP. Next year, we'll be looking at around 35 million. So as Scott mentioned, we have seen decrease in revenue, decrease in some of our budgeting for next year.
Sorry to Quick question, when I'm looking at the budgeted and the expenditures, like some of those, obviously it's mid-year, right? But some of those are really off, like the last one, we budgeted 7 million, we've only spent.
I'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wait till when I get to that one, I'll cover that.
Okay.
That's because it's staffing, and so it has to, with our accounting, so it has to catch up. So that's not gonna look like that at the end of the year. Yeah, I wish it would. We would have some money that we could spend. But yeah, that's unfortunately not gonna be that big of a discrepancy. So with our action items, you can see we have a lot of the things we're still doing for these 3 years is professional development days, our 3 professional development days. That's a big ticket item. We work with Solution Tree as a district to implement PLCs. So we have PLC coaches that work with our school sites individually. And during the summer and during the school year, we send teachers and staff to Solution Tree PLC conferences. So that's part of that. We have this is really awesome. We have our own, and you know this, we have our own teacher induction program. I got to go to Chico State on Friday with Raj and Liz Davitt and Ken Schaefer and talk to new teachers. And their number one question out of all the questions was teacher induction. There's probably about 9 questions, all on teacher induction. And it's awesome that our district actually has it here. That was one of the main questions for new teachers. And it was awesome to see the new teachers too. They were all excited. I was like, it's awesome. It's good to see that passion. So as you can see, we have our budgets and our expenditures for that. 1.2, ELD, ELA, math, science, PD. That includes everything we do after school. That includes our people we hire to work with us during PD days. That includes our ELD professional development this year. We've been doing professional development integrated and designated in ELD. So anything that ties to our PD under that goal, we use our supplemental concentration funds for. Our TOSA program, that's teacher on special assignment, that's any coaches that we have. We only have 1 coach. We have 3 coaches, but we don't fund a lot of coaches through that. And our instructional aides we have, that's also a staffing. So a lot of our LCAP we mentioned is significantly staffed. 1.3, we have AVID as a district. It's K-12 AVID program in our district. That funds all of our PD for AVID. We send teachers to the Summer Institute in the summer. A significant amount of teachers from every school site. It's pretty awesome this year. Bridge Street every teacher at Bridge Street has been trained in AVID. They're a demonstration school this year. We've had Tara Buena get Gold Star status. So our schools are doing a really good job with AVID. And the cool thing about it is it's consistent across our district. It's something that we all do. Dual enrollment in AP is part of that, increasing our options for kids to take more AP courses and for kids to take more dual enrollment courses in high school. And arts, supplies, and resources, visual performing arts, we use our supplemental concentration to fund our field trips for our performing arts, to fund supplies for performing arts, and that costs a lot of money. Like anything with band, those are significant expenditures. Luckily, we do have some other restricted resources that are coming with Prop 28 money. So we're going to be able to strategically look at some of our other funding sources moving forward, and not have to use all of the supplemental concentration funds for that. There are ways as we move forward that we can use some of our restricted funds. 1.4, we have our school sites have a single school plan, and they get allocated monies based on their unduplicated pupil count, and there's single school plans, and that's what 1.4 is. 1.5 is a huge ticket item, which Jasmine mentioned. That is staffing, certificated teachers. So we're talking about AVID teachers, CTE teachers, ROTC teachers. A lot of our staff is through LCAP, and that's why that's not going to be there towards the end of the year. That money will be allocated. Goal 2, we have 4 items. Once again, ELD, we have elevation programs, resources that we use for our ELD placement. We have more EL professional development. And to note here, we also do have title programs in our district. So we have federal monies we can use for that. So we have Title III, which is for EL students. So at times we do use both of those resources to strategically resource our money. Coordinators, our CTE coordinators or data coordinators, that staffing is part of our LCAP. So we fund our coordinators that are district office through LCAP. They work with our sites. SWAN, Go Math, Alex, we have 3. SWAN is a significant coaching model we have, and supplemental resource we have for math. And so our K-8 sites, most of them use SWAN to have coaching and supplemental resources. And that's a big ticket item, that's about $1.2 million. Let's see here. And so you can see 2.3, there's a heavy emphasis on staffing for that one. And then 2.4, once again, goes back to our sites get supplemental concentration allocations in their single school plans. So they're able to look at the LCAP goals, align their school sites to those goals, and they have money for that under 2.4. And under our last one, goal 3, PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention Supports, our school, we're a PBIS district. Like I said, Tiered Branding got gold status, they get silver stars as well. Every year we do a tiered fidelity inventory assessment on that. And it is kind of cool watching. It's like the elementary kids get like positive rewards. So you're like, hey, I've been respectful today. And they get like a little flyer, and they get to save those up for like a prize. And the idea is you build a positive behavior with the kids. So we still implement that at our school sites. We pay for our counseling staff, our high school counseling staff above our allocation, base allocation. We pay for extra counseling staff. That's through our LCAP. Our K-8 counselors are also paid through our LCAP. Like I said, our LCAP, as we develop it moving forward, we have a significant amount of staffing that we fund through this. And through our feedback through our partners, social emotional health is part of our goals as a district. So we want to continue to look at funding that to help our kids. We work with Trish Hatch Consulting for our PD for our counselors. That's part of this current LCAP. Catapult Communication is a program we use for emergencies in our schools, so that's something we fund through LCAP. 3.2, we fund credit recovery for our high school at River Valley and at Yuba City High School. That's during the school year and during summer school. We fund summer school through LCAP. We fund our social workers, one of the nurses we had on the LCAP to fund. So once again, that goes back to staffing, but 80% staffing. And it keeps going to staffing. So 3.3 is school safety. And so we have we have a total of 4. We have 2 resource officers and 2 probation officers we fund through LCAP. We fund our noon duty guard aides. All of our campus supervisors are through supplemental concentration. And that has been a consistent theme in all the feedback is school safety. So I don't really ever see that going away, because we need adults to be on campus to be visible to help with our kids in supervision. And the last one. Oh, parent engagement, parent participation and engagement. Looking at the parent liaisons, we talked about that earlier. And so that's in our current LCAP. So as we move forward, if that's something that we continue to hear feedback on, that's something we would consider moving forward in our new LCAP. There's a lot, but that's this is this current 3-year LCAP. Next year it'll be, there will obviously be some continuity because of staffing, but it is a good time to look at programmatically what we could maybe leverage or not have to use if we don't need to. And this is an opportunity we can do that now, is really evaluating our programs. And then, like Scott mentioned earlier, we do have some restricted funding sources still that we could look at. We have an arts and media grant. We have a learning emergency recovery grant. Those are very specifically restricted, and they have to be used for specific programs. So we are able to look at that, and maybe, for example, credit recovery. That's probably something we can use in a different funding source. So what that does for us is it frees up money in our supplemental concentration. So that's kind of how we kind of work at it, is looking at all of our funding sources. It's a lot of work, but it's really great to work with accounting. Scott, working with Mark's been awesome, because we all kind of work together on looking at different funding sources for the kids. That's all.
Just a real quick question.
Yeah.
As you're working with all these different sites, do you see any kind of like comprehensive or consistent ask? Like, this is something that's really important to
counseling,
everyone.
social emotional. Counseling, social emotional help for our kids. That's been a consistent theme throughout, and school safety.
Okay.
Like making sure we have supervision on our campuses. That's been a consistent thing in every single group I've been in. And also parent engagement, parent nights, giving more information to parents about like, when you're in high school, if you haven't been part of that system for a while, like how do you get into colleges? How do you write college letters? and how can parents help their kids get to a college. Just more informational nights. Parents have a lot to say. It was actually really fun having a parent night. They talked about having some more training for IEPs. So students who are on IEPs, can we have more trainings for parents on what that means? So there has been a lot of good feedback about parent engagement. Yeah, but definitely like safety, counseling, and the parent engagement has been a pretty consistent message that I've heard throughout.
Thank you.
I just have one
Yeah.
last question.
Yeah.
So what do we do with, like, if there ends up being a surplus, from what we've budgeted to how much we've spent? Not on any one item, but just overall. Like, what happens? It just goes to the general fund and then?
I'll let Scott answer that one.
So there's actually that's a newer requirement that we if we have unspent supplemental concentration dollars, we need to carry that over and spend it in the new year. So we had one-time carryover dollars into the 23-24, the current year that we're in, that we're spending down. So some of the things, and again, those are one-time dollars, right? That's not continuing because it's just carryovers like any fund balance. So we had to kind of scramble to figure out how we're going to spend those one-time dollars. But the goal, we have a kind of a new team with Tino as far as developing the LCAP and making sure we spend all those dollars. And that's our goal, is to make sure we, spend all those supplemental concentration dollars.
So the carryover dollars still have to align with the LCAP
Yes, they
goals
do.
and expended in that, so it's like a carryover plan.
But if you're gonna carry over, let's say 5 million, right?
Mhm.
So for next year, our projection could be what we would have allocated is 5 million less because we have 5 million that's carrying over. Well, then the 5 extra million, can't you just use that for something else? That you would have necessarily budgeted had you spent it all this year, that wouldn't have carried over?
I'm not sure if I fully understand the question. I will say that obviously we don't plan to have carryover, but if we do, we need to kind of develop a new plan. So if we have $35 million in LCAP dollars on an ongoing basis, and we have $5 million in carryover, we now have to spend 40, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that 40, it needs to align with what our LCAP goals are, and we need to figure out how to spend that extra $5 million. I know I didn't answer your question.
It's okay. I need to structure it better, but I need to.
Okay.
And something to tie to that would be, I think it was maybe October, we came back to the board with a revised ESSER 3 plan, because we looked at our monies that we had to spend, we had more money to spend, and so we had to go back and revise the plan and get board approval for that, so we could use that money.
And that would be the same process for LCAP, is if there's additional funds that carry over from this year to the next, and it's already been, so budget development will happen and the board will approve in June, closing the books. It may be that Tino and Scott come forward at another board meeting to say there was $5 million in excess that carried over. Here's, based upon the LCAP and input, it'll be expended.
And one thing I did forget to mention on this was, I overlooked the technology piece. Technology was a big purchase this year at the LCAP. It's an ongoing revenue, just wanted to make sure I noted that.
But that was some of the carryover dollars I think we spent.
Yeah.
So, it's like pivot, what do? We have some carryover. Now classroom technology is a good way to do that because, again, one-time funds you don't put to ongoing expenses like salaries, but if we could do some one-time investment that directly impact the students, then that's a great way to do that, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
So,
Any questions? No? Thank you.
make sure you read that 32 pages, please.
Sure. All right, comments from the public on items not on the agenda? Awesome, thank you, Laura. Consent agenda, can I get a motion to approve, or any questions?
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda with the exception of 12I.
Okay, second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, motion carries. Thank you. Then we can go to action items, 13A, LPA presentation, long range facilities plan.
Absolutely. I'd like to introduce Mariana and the LPA crew to come up and present all the hard work that's been going on for a lot of community engagement. I appreciate all the hard work and to present where we are right now.
Carla's gonna get us started and then I'll jump in. Other than who's here, great.
Ronnie, and members of the governing board. Since our previous meeting on December 6th of last year regarding your input on project prioritization, this presentation will be more of a concise overview for the benefit of community discussions. The goal for this evening's meeting is adoption of this plan. Please note that adoption of this plan does not solidify the order in which projects are to be implemented. The order of implementation will be done after funding is secured, and the board will decide the order of implementation. These prioritization lookbooks simply show the recommendations based on the community input. The long-range facilities plan is documented in a series of lookbooks from 1 through 8. You can see those down at the bottom left. As shown below, each lookbook represents a different area of information collected and can be accessed through a website interface. So we'll have links that everyone can access and use and flip through. In your board packet, you'll find a PDF of the image to the left. These modules represent the 4 landing pages of the website. That's what you see highlighted there.
And also just, so we printed those, it's not in a PDF, it's actually those big reports there that are printed out in color for you. Yeah.
Wonderful, that's right. Okay, so these first 3 lookbooks give you a broadest overview, but really with a high level of detail. We'll go over the executive summary. Lookbook number 2 will be the project prioritization summary, and then the campus plan summary. Lookbooks 4 through 8 are targeted.
Oh, sorry, so these 3, because they're the broadest overview, they're translated into Punjabi and Spanish.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you, go on.
No, that's good. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Lookbooks 4 through 8 are targeted more for the architecture and engineering firms that this governing body will approve at some future point. Thank you. These lookbooks provide a deep understanding of the history and the technical information to help guide future improvement projects. That's 4 through 8. So the executive summary lookbook provides the executive summary, background, overview, and inclusive planning approach to the long-range facilities plan. And you can see the link there at the bottom, which is accurate. The project prioritization summary lookbook covers the funding analysis and total cost along with stakeholder and board priorities. And Mariana will go over the highlights of this later in the presentation. And the campus summary lookbook contains all of the existing and proposed campus diagrams. The campus summary spreads show the mission and vision of each campus and the main project that will support that mission and vision. The program summary spreads will show what programs are allocated for what spaces. So that's the design guidelines are required by the California Department of Education. They may also be known as ed specs or educational specs, I might know that term. These educational specifications are required to provide any of the projects shown in the facility plan. The design guidelines visioning lookbook shows the reports collected and compiled from the engagement process with educational leadership. There was a 2-day kickoff workshop followed by 10 focus group meetings to collect all the data provided. You'll see that in the lookbook there as well. Town hall meetings lookbook shows and represents the engagement process with the broader community. We hosted 2 workshops and were able to advertise them both in Spanish and Punjabi. For the campus visioning lookbook, contains the reports from the stakeholder workshops at each campus. Some of you were there and went through all that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How well were they, how many people showed up for your town halls? Because I went to one, but the ones at the schools, how many, was there a good?
So those are totally different. The town halls were the whole broader community, so that's obviously larger.
Mm-hmm.
The campus visioning workshops, that's with the site admin, and then it was on them to invite.
Were they attended well?
Yeah, but those were supposed to be smaller.
Okay.
Those weren't for the whole
Okay.
school campus, so we had the right amount, like anywhere from 2 to 5, which is fine as long as the principal and assistant principal
Okay.
there.
And the final one there, the survey data lookbook, that provides the results of the online survey that was done. And again, you can see the link at the bottom there.
Those are also in Punjabi and Spanish.
Do you know about how many people responded to the online survey?
That's in that lookbook, we can go in there.
Okay.
I'll finish the presentation and then we can go in and open it. I don't remember the numbers, but that's in that.
But they're just notoriously not.
It took a lot of
Yeah.
trying and, yes. We did everything we could.
Begging to people to, yeah.
I think the highest number were the students because we had, the teachers having to do in class at a good point where they, kind of held hostage to answer the survey. So that's typical. That always helps. We really want to hear the student voice.
Any questions before?
And go to the next slide, and then we'll do questions. So this is where the rubber hits the road, so that's why we're emphasizing this part in the presentation. So here you see the numbers of the total needs. This is always sticker shock for any district, not just yours. There's a lot of need just due to the history of how our funding has played out in California. On the right are all those strategies. The steering committee worked very hard, working with us and Capital Group, Kathy Domenico, to strategize how do we get this number down. And so some key strategies that changed from what we showed in the town halls was to go from 2 stories to 1 story. That saves a lot of money. So I know at the town halls, people were really enamored with seeing, other 2-story projects and thinking that that could be a good way to save space. The new construction, instead of being estimated as what we call stick built, like stud wall framing, has been estimated using modular construction. Some of those images that we showed of really nice projects do not look modular, so don't confuse modular with portable. Modular is permanent, it just saves time and money, and it's already DSA approved, so things get done faster and that saves money. Another strategy was to plan for TK expansion, TK and K enrollment to be half day instead of full day. So when we went into the town halls, we were planning for full day, so we have more building, it has more implications of construction and space. So I'd say those are the top 3 that really made a big difference, but there were all these other little strategies listed there to cut down the costs. Below the line means below the total line, so the second set of bullets on the right are the things that we got cost estimated so that the district is aware of these costs and can do the projects when they can, but to not double dip, we put things like immediate needs that were shown in the facility condition assessments, deferred maintenance costs that were also in the facility condition assessments. So those are listed, but they're below the total. Other things that are more nuanced, but I know they make a big difference in learners' lives, is the full depth field replacement with a gopher barrier adds up. I'm doing that at all the campuses, so we have the numbers in our cost estimate for doing that, but that is below the line. And same thing with the solar shade structures, so we have the cost for all of that. So the scenario that is that we're operating on is going for using $250 million. So that means we're just prioritizing that amount, and then I'll show how we need to reserve 1/3 for contingency. But you may be wondering, what are the sources? So there are multiple funding sources to get to that $250 million, and that's something the district will work on. The deferred maintenance projects could reduce that amount, so that's something to be aware of. So in that little graphic on the right, you can see the number 167,500 million. So that is about 2/3 of the total. And the reason is because we need to reserve 1/3. Once you get to you have your funding, you go to implementation and you want to promise to to the public, a certain amount of projects, you only wanna promise up to the 167 number. Because you can't promise a 250 million. You need to keep a third for contingencies such as the cost of escalation. So we calculate the cost, things, if I build something today versus if I build that same exact thing in 2 or 3 years, it's going to cost more. So we calculate that to the midpoint of construction time. Interim housing, hopefully you'll avoid it. We've worked with other districts that have avoided it, so then they were able to dip into that money that was for phase 2 by being smart about the planning and not having to pay for portables. But we leave the 1/3 in there in case you have to do things like that. And then the other rest of it is just contingencies for unknowns when you do, if you're working on your home and you open up something, take out a wall, you might discover things you didn't know when you opened it up. So it's very conservative, this approach. So on the next slide, I just want to say how great it was to see that there was alignment between the different groups that we worked with. So we worked with the community, that was the community survey. It's in that lookbook that shows the numbers, but there are 2 main things where we need new construction for classrooms. And we need to improve our admin. So our new word for admin is the Welcome Center. So it's the same thing, it's just giving it a different name, how it's planned, showing in the design guidelines, and staff support. So those were the 2 most important things. And the rest, the school site committees, that's at each campus, and the long range facilities plan committee that met 5 times, they could all agree on we need new classrooms, new construction, we need to improve our admins. A lot of it involved reconfiguring admin completely to solve challenges that you currently have. Staff support spaces, and then improving the traffic flow for campus arrival, parking, and drop-off. So on the right, you can see those are the 3 common priorities that we found. So that was the approach to see how we can improve that on all the campuses that need it. So some things to keep in mind when new construction is chosen, that will get rid of portables, and you'll see on the nifty Power BI dashboard that we made in the facilities department. The district clicks on projects, there's a little meter that shows you how many portables you're reducing from that set of spaces. Also, just to clarify, when we talk about campus arrival, parking, drop-off, it's more to improve the traffic flow. It isn't necessarily to add more parking spaces. It's a big pain point on several campuses. So this is a scenario for phase 1. So again, I want to reiterate that this is not final. You're not approving this list to happen in this order. You're going to see detail of how that Power BI was used in which campuses, how we get to these numbers, campus by campus, all plugging them into these buckets of scope. So new construction of classrooms, site utilities to support the new construction, the campus arrival, parking, drop-off at specific campuses that have a really big pain point with that, safety and security district-wide, a gymnasium at Gray Avenue, much needed, admin and staff support at Lincoln Elementary. So you'll see on the next slide of where we chose working with these committees, using the Power BI dashboard tool, clicking on all the campuses, focusing on these scopes. This shows the rough amount that would be spent based on the cost estimates at each campus for the elementary and middle schools and K-8s for phase 1. So that's that $167,500,000. We can't hit it right on the nose, so this adds up to just under $164,249. How much would be spent at the high schools? And so one thing we wanted you to be aware of is the facilities department did a great job in documenting all the portables that are on the campus and categorizing them into 4 buckets. So highest priority means those are in the worst condition. 4th priority means they're not in such bad condition, least worst, however you want to phrase that. But we really want to focus on getting rid of those ones that are in really, really bad condition. So this is another thing that will be factored in when you start working in your implementation phase. So So the last piece is, don't expect you to be able to read these numbers, but the district has the link to this, and it's just a Power BI dashboard in which they click on the projects to get to that first phase. So this dashboard is just showing every project, and that's why it's showing like all the portables gone. So that little curve shows how many portables are removed. But this is documenting that phase one. So we created a dashboard that just makes it so you can do a shortcut and click on it and you can get to where we left off on this long range plan. But then, like I said, you're gonna refine this and debate amongst yourselves, and once you get the funding, that's when you really have to not just factor in how you're spending the money, but what bandwidth do we have to do the work at each campus and not disrupt students' lives and just be able to manage the work, right? So this page just shows you all the little buttons of how the district has this great tool, and that's something we'd be happy to come back in and help with as needed, but you really have what you need to, work on your own if you chose to do that for the implementation phase. The reset button lets you start with a blank slate over. The second button lets you go back to what was documented for phase one. The little curve, as you choose new construction, it's keeping track of how many portables you're removing. And there's a compare button that lets you look at two scenarios side by side. So now it's time for questions. If there's any questions in the lookbook, I can click on it because each one is basically a website, the flipbook, and we can go into the lookbooks if we want to go that deep. So any questions?
So,
Show me the money.
Off the sky.
So that's, so I think Mariana kind of addressed a little bit of the question that came up is how are we gonna prioritize new projects? Now, lighting actually isn't even on this list. It didn't come up through the prioritization project, and it's come up more recently. Doesn't mean, the board can always pivot and say, hey, we want lighting, but we do need to find the money, right? So that's kind of a big part of it, so.
So I think one of the key things also is that, clearly we heard about instructional spaces and the old portables. One of the things that I heard is circulating among the staff, and so you see kind of the thought process, but you're right. This is really about the plan that would be, and I know that we say 10 years, but this document will continue to evolve, will be revised as the board decides on which projects they see as the highest priorities as we move forward in the future. And then again, securing funding to be able to fund these projects.
Yep.
And California Department of Ed recommends refreshing the long-range plan every 5 years, so it doesn't mean starting from scratch, but 5 years, who knows what happens, like you saw what happened with the pandemic. Something could happen and you need to go back in and just see what's still valid and what's not and give it a little update.
Is there ever like an option for lease back for construction?
So that's a project delivery method. So once you start doing the project, like that has nothing to do with the long range plan. That's the district's choice. When they have funding and want to do projects, then they'll work with, construction management or internally and say, this is the project delivery method we want. So that is a possibility, but we don't talk about project delivery methods in our meeting.
It's gonna be a little bit more Kathy Dominic on Capital Public Finance Group on strategies on how to secure funding. And lease backs typically relate to just borrowing, they're called COPs, but certificates of participation.
Which we've done in the past.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the worst forms of financing just because you're just borrowing money and paying it back instead of getting other sources of money, so.
Okay. I guess like the only question that I had, because I know the importance and some of the board members have expressed it about the lights at River Valley. And I understand that, there's other things that are more, depending on perspective, more pressing, right? But when you look at, some of the costs of this, like for new classrooms, it's $85 million in phase one. I think lights are just over $1 million, right? Something like that.
I don't know, we haven't gone out to bid for that. We have somebody that has told us that number, yes.
Okay. well, maybe it's 2 million, whatever it is, but, the only thing I would say is, I think sometimes, obviously, by the time the implementation of this takes place, maybe some of us will be here, maybe none of us will be here. I think that it'd be nice to have a discussion on, maybe diving into what we feel like is phase one and really outlining that, because in 4 years, 5 years, or whenever that may be, it would really stink if none of us are here and the discussion and the intention is that these are gonna be our priorities, and then it changes.
Well, I think the thing is that,
Or goes someplace on
right,
the
I think the first, and correct me if I'm wrong, the first phase is really adopting your long-range plan. And once you do that, then it would be for direction to staff to then, now, we need to look at an implementation plan and what would be in that implementation plan. But this is step one to say, we see this is our long-range plan for our facilities in district. And then next would be is, we've got our maintenance of our buildings that needs to be funded. And also then, how will we fund if you want to do, replacement of portables, lights, a gym, whatever those things are, what would be the cost and how will we fund those? Am I?
No, I think
Good explanation.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you guys just, any other questions, or we can move for a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the long-range facilities plan.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? None, hearing, none, motion carries. Okay, B.
And I'd like to thank, LPA has been a good
Thank you, guys.
Has been very
Thank you, guys.
patient with us, so thank you, Mariana and crew. It's been a very informative process for me to go through, and I appreciate your adapting and accommodating and working with us, so thank you.
We're happy to help, call us anytime.
Can I go back and ask one question? Just one question. The biggest ticket item on the whole thing is Yuba City High School. Okay, that's $201 million. Does that mean raising it and building new? Because to me, that's.
We had that
We had those conversations before, and we didn't land on that approach of raising it and building it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Shelley, part of that, and that you taught there, is that school grew. It was the only comprehensive high school, and so it was, I'm gonna use the word patchworked together.
Oh, yeah, that's a good word.
And so through
It's
the
a big
long-range planning is to make that a more cohesive campus in terms of meeting the educational needs of our students. So it's not like English is over there and it might be over there. It was a thought process of trying to make sense of it and to meet the needs of our current students and long-range planning.
I was just wondering, because, the walls are cinder block and trying to get technology and things, when it was
There's
built
some-
in the 60s.
Right. And then
It
you've
was a
got
whole
the
different
portables
world.
over there, and you have so that was all of the planning and discussion when they were working with Yuba City High School. But the high school is, because it's a high school, it's comprehensive, needs some attention and love.
I agree.
And you can see the plan in the campus summary.
Thank you.
Conceptual plans, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, 13B?
Media furniture, so we were in our last, this is pretty awesome news actually, so for the K-8 and nominally at the high school, very scary. We're in our last phase of the implementation and installation of the furniture. So this past February, our learning centers were installed at our K-8 schools. It's during spring break, we have 2 learning centers at AK and the rest of our SDC classrooms that aren't pilot classrooms being installed during spring break. And during PD Day, we have our professional development for our SDC and our learning center teachers during PD Day. So that's already been allotted, that's already been expended, that is good to go, we're done with that. We have 93 total classrooms left for this summer. I remember last year we had over 200 we did last summer. So maintenance, facilities, and media did a pretty phenomenal job doing that. Not to mention BenQ boards. It was a Herculean effort by everybody getting it done. So once again, just want to give everybody a hats off. for that. That was pretty awesome. So the first one is to finish our kindergarten classrooms. We have 34 classrooms that are left to outfit for our kindergarten classrooms, and that's the first action item. And that is 1.1 million out of supplemental concentration for our kindergarten classrooms. That would happen over summer. That would be one of our summer projects.
Do you want to
Do you want to do all four of them at the same time, or do you want to do each one separately?
I don't care.
I can talk about all four of them and do all of them at one time.
Sure.
Okay.
I'd like to vote on, I have a question about Albert Powell. Have you talked to the teachers at Albert Powell?
They are all in
Okay.
favor. Yeah, that was the first thing we did.
Okay.
So we walked through all the classrooms, and Albert Powell actually needs some love. Like, they have some very outdated classrooms, especially their science classrooms. If you walk in one of their science classrooms, it is like the teachers like, give me something new, because in the middle of the classrooms you have two of those long lab tables, and they're just intrusive. You can hardly get through for the kids, and it's just kind of like some of the UBC high school. It's just outdated. They need an upgrade. So that's part of it. So the second one is at Albert Hall High School is the core classrooms, to re-outfit the core classrooms. We currently have one pilot classroom with Lisa Drummond in math there. And so all the teachers have gotten to see that pilot classroom, are excited to get that redesigned. And then at Yuba City High School, we do have some teachers who do want to move forward with the furniture at Yuba City High School. We have an avid English classroom, we have the math classroom, and then we have the rest of the social science classrooms. And social science teachers. So I was like, sweet, if they want to do it, that's awesome. So that's pretty exciting. And the third one would be finishing our, we did have teachers initially, 40 classrooms that opted out of the initial install for our K-8 classrooms, and this is for the rest of the opt-outs for K-8. And the last one is for only 2 classrooms. It's our last 2 TK classrooms, one at Bridge and one at Lincoln, and we're actually using our Universal TK grant to fund that one.
So, under the opt-outs, the teachers who opted out are out of options. They're going to get the new furniture.
Yes.
Lovely.
All right, any other questions? No? Can I get a motion on 13B, C, D, and E? All together. Unless you guys want them separately, we can do.
I'd like to pull D separately.
Okay, let's just do them all separately. 13B?
I make a motion to approve 13B.
My second. Sorry, I didn't say this in the beginning. The motion by member Roscoe and the second by member Core. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. 13C, any motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by member Pretty and a second by member Lamb. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. 13D.
I make a motion to approve 13D.
I'll second.
Motion by member Roscoe and a second by member Core. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
With one no, correct?
One no. Yes. By member Pretty. 13E.
I make a motion to approve 13E.
No, I'm good. I'm just thinking in my brain.
I'll second. Okay, on a motion by member Roscoe and a second by member Core. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. 13F, BenQ boards.
This is a continued rollout of the BenQ boards. So this is getting additional installations. I think we're starting in the spring here. Maybe this is for the summer. So we have 100 BenQ boards going in. It's on a already, we're piggybacking on an already publicly bid contract, and the cost is $415,000, which is being paid for supplemental concentration dollars, and I believe this is the carryover dollars that we're using for that portion of it.
Any questions? Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
On a motion by member Lamb and a second by member Roscoe, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. G, Cornerstone Technologies contract.
So this is surplus technology items that we put out to bid, and we try to get the highest price for surplusing these dollars. And you can see the bids that were returned, a low of $14,000 to a high of $85,000. So obviously, we're going to go for a high bid on that one.
Any questions?
This is where we're receiving money this time.
Thank you.
We're not paying.
Sorry, I zoned out for a second.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Any questions?
I make a motion to approve
I
13G.
second.
Okay, on a motion by member Roscoe, second by member Lamb, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. H, Sutter County Probation Department.
I must be doing that one. That was what I was checking. So, as you know, we have probation officers who serve our district. This is the annual contract that, for the 24-25 school year. So I ask that this be approved.
Questions, concerns?
Are the probation officers still, is there a probation officer at each high school still?
Yeah, correct. Each of the high schools, Gray Avenue, that's split with Riverbend, and a truancy officer.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by member Pretty and a second by member Lamb, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. I, expulsion, suspended contracts, readmission of cases, recommendation.
I make a motion to approve as discussed in closed session.
Second.
Motion by member Roscoe, second by member Lamb, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion, motion carries, sorry. J, second reading of the proposed revision to YCUSD.
Yes, so we need to correct this. This is actually a first reading of the policies. As outlined in the index, there were several different options, but they are in alignment with current district practices. So this is the first reading for those policies that came forward in June, so we're a little behind in our policy update. So this is a first reading.
Okay, so no action is needed. Any questions, comments?
If they're from June a little behind, is it okay to waive the second reading? Or, I don't know if there's any questions.
Do you need that, time-wise?
Helpful.
I don't have any problem with waiving the second reading.
Me neither.
Okay, so do I need a motion?
I'll make a motion that we waive second reading.
Second.
Okay, on a motion by member Pretty and a second by member Lamb, all those in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve.
All those opposed? Hearing none, we waive the second reading. Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion that we approve.
Okay,
Second.
second on a motion by member Pretty and a second by member Lamb, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, AB 1200 disclosure of collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, so this is our required disclosure regarding any agreement that we come to with our bargaining units. So this describes what what it is, and it's just an additional 4% on the salary schedule for the 22-23 school year, and a one-time payment to classified staff prorated by FT or full-time equivalent, and also prorated by the time they were here with us, so the calendar year as well. And so we just show the impact on the financials and describe the offer or the deal. The tender agreement, sorry.
Any questions? Can I get a motion?
Make a motion that we approve.
Second.
A motion by member Pretty, a second by member Lamb, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We're gonna go to 12I, CACA Me Too agreement. Just, we had reorganized that and moved that out of consent.
So
It's already been ratified, correct? So I just need a motion.
I make a motion to approve 12I.
I'll second it.
A motion by member Roscoe and a second by member Pretty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. L, sunshine from Yuba City Unified School District to Yuba City Teachers Association.
I make a motion to approve the sunshine.
Second.
On a motion by member Roscoe, second by member Lamb. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, hearing none, motion carries. M, layoff of classified employees due to lack of work and or funds for 24-25 school year.
Yes, as per closed session, we are asking the board to approve the classified layoffs due to the exhaustion of the COVID-19 funds.
Any questions, discussion?
However, there was a modification.
There is a modification. There were 5 positions that were removed that were misaligned. They are not, and you have the revised resolution.
So there were 5 positions on the list that were not COVID.
That were not
therefore will
COVID.
not be part of it.
And they're not in the current resolution that we sent. I don't know if I made that clear.
Any questions? Comments?
I just want us to make sure that we revisit, through LCAP, et cetera, some of the positions that
Right.
we might be losing that are counter to our board goals.
Yeah, and just a reminder to the board, there is a new law that requires us to do a March 15th layoff for classified, and so it's a timing issue, and then you're right, we are in budget development and LCAP development, which may make some, could possibly, depending on input from our stakeholders.
Educational partner.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
know, I'm.
Thank you.
Is that the new buzzword?
It is. Yeah, that's what it
But you know what I meant.
I just got used to stakeholders.
Yeah, sorry.
All right.
Educational partners, thank you for the.
We need next, you'll need it next year too.
My peeps.
Can I get a motion?
Nobody wants to make a motion on that.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
On a motion by member Roscoe, second by member Quilty, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. N, non-reelection of certificated staff for 24-25.
In alignment with Ed Code, we must notify employees of non-reelection by March 15th. We're asking for the board's approval to move forward with that.
How many,
How many?
Just 2.
Oh,
Two?
That was
oh, on this one,
Yeah,
there's 2.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
On a motion by member Pretty and a second by member Roscoe, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. 2024 ballot for CSBA delegate assembly, which is somebody from Wheatland, I believe.
correct. So there's a nominee for the representative to CSBA for our area.
Alright, and then I think member Roscoe is still one of the,
And the individual is Greg Forrest from Wheatland High School District.
there we go. Alright, I get a motion for Greg. Is this
I
Greg?
make a motion that we approve.
Forrest.
Second.
Okay, on a motion by member Pretty and a second by member Lamb, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Board reports, information, and discussion. We had, our government liaison meeting, which was nice. I don't quite remember anything from it because it was a couple weeks ago. Sorry.
So discussion just about, from the city, some of the new housing projects that are going in. The sidewalk,
Yeah, there's that.
and then also
The
the
water.
water to Berry. The
Yes.
project is moving forward.
Anything next summer? Or this summer? Can't
This
recall. This summer. That's pretty much about it. Anything else?
I attended, is that what we're supposed to do? I went to the Arrival Live at Yuba City High School. I was happy that they got it on the assembly and had an assembly. I think all of our main schools have. See, it's a great assembly. It's amazing. It's about fentanyl, which is awful, and Anyway, it was good, well attended.
Nice. Any charter school stuff? Okay, cool. Communications, written communications for public? None? Okay. Comments from employee representatives, I think. Hi, Ms. Peggy.
Hi, my name is Peggy Costa. I'm a proud custodian and the chief leading steward for our chapter. I'm reading this letter on behalf of Mercedes Geraldo, the president of CSEA Chapter 265. She apologizes for not being here in person, but is currently on leave until next week. I would like to start by recognizing both Kathy Day and Sharon G. Tucker, who have collectively been serving our students for almost 40 years. Congratulations to them both. Next, I would like to thank the board for hearing the classified voice and honoring the Me Too clause in its entirety. Our classified employees go above and beyond every day to serve the students in our community and deserve to be compensated. Finally, classified layoffs. Although everyone who was working under COVID funds knew this time would come, it's still painful. CSCA will be there to make sure the process is done fairly and correctly, and we'll be starting with the accuracy of the seniority lists. The big question is, after the layoffs, how will this work get done? Is there no longer a need to support students in intervention? Will classrooms and offices get the same level of cleaning? Will we reduce the hours the library is open? Students today face a plethora of health issues. Do parents really want the office staff to handle their child's medical needs because the health office aide only works 3.8 hours a day? Who will be calling the families of our non-English speaking students on behalf of our teachers and administrators? The work isn't going away, just the hours and or bodies to do the work. So I ask the question, who is going to do the additional work left after losing 41.14 FTE classified employees? Our students will suffer the biggest loss. On the district's disclosure of collective bargaining agreement, item F states, this agreement will increase in operating deficit. The district will be implementing a cost reduction in the 2024-25 school year. If the district is running at such a deficit, why are the classified employees the only ones identified as expendable? Thank you from Mercedes Geraldo.
Is there anyone from CTA?
The Trinity, Miss Counts,
Are you up here or no? Yes, no, maybe so?
Okay.
Okay. All right, we can move on to comments from board members. Any? I had the opportunity to go to Japan with the sister city schools. I kind of talked to you guys about it before as well. It's an awesome experience. My apologies for not bringing what they presented to the district tonight, but I will bring that in. It's a beautiful Japanese fan that the superintendent presented to the school district. So it was really nice to be able to see how the schools operate there, how just the structure of schools. It's so different from here. So I can dive deeper into that, but
Will we get a chance to reciprocate? Are they gonna be sending people
So
here?
they will be coming in October. I believe that's end of October. It's right around Halloween.
They always come at
They always
Halloween.
think
Yeah.
They love Halloween.
And they freak out when they come to the schools and everyone's dressed in their
They love
their
Yeah.
Halloween.
Because they wear
costumes.
uniforms, they're responsible for cleaning the schools, they're responsible for, like, they are at school much longer than how long we are. Like, kids go 8:30 to 3:40, 4 o'clock. Over there, it's like 8 to 6, 8 to 7. And that's usually how.
And they clean their school, you said.
And they clean their school. Yeah. It's mind-boggling. But definitely a great experience to be able to go and attend. But they'll be coming in October, and then I'm sure they'll communicate with Superintendent Osumi as far as how many kids are coming and families and whatnot. But there will be a chance to, like, if you guys want to host a family, to host them, it'll be for a week. So
Yeah, there will be adults and children coming.
Yeah.
We just don't know the number yet because it's the first year post-COVID, so we're excited to be able to do this again. So thank you for attending on behalf of the district.
You're welcome. It's fun. Comments from Superintendent?
Well, just about the sister city. So we send a gift over to our sister school district. And I had this year, I had one of our art teachers, George Pinko, design a print. And he took the idea, he did research, and and if you've ever seen George's work, it was beautiful. And there was symbolic, there was, he just did a lovely job. And it was special just because it was one of our teachers sending something over representing the city.
Do you have a picture of it?
I have one in my office. He
Okay.
did it, so I'll share it with you. So that was very special. And then secondly, I had an opportunity to present to the Yuba Center Chamber on Friday last week with Superintendent Wallace, Ronnie from Marysville, Jordan Unified, and Scott also presented with me just the state of Yuba City Unified. So I got to do a little bragging on some of the things that we've done in our district, and then also share some of our challenges, with staff shortages and some of the issues with attendance and parent and student engagement. So Member Quilty was there as a business person, but also a board member. And so it was an opportunity to help the chamber know what we're doing, the good work we're doing, because sometimes you only hear some of the bad things. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the chamber.
Looking forward to next week. Go read for Read Across America over at Park Avenue School. So I'll be attending their function on Thursday morning, and looking forward to doing that and hanging out with the kids.
Very good.
Can would now be appropriate time for maybe something in a future board rep meeting to discuss? I know Dreamy and I had kind of talked about this before, but I wanted to bring it to the board, just our attendance policy around kids that participate in sports, but it's like league sports. And sometimes the obligation of them having to leave class early or whatnot to attend competitions. But the attendance policy that's tied around that, because I feel like there's some discrepancy in that if we have our own students leaving early to go to sports games, they're not marked absent or truant or whatnot after so many. But if we can maybe you could present some ideas and what's been proposed in the
Yeah,
past.
so in the past, there have been conversations surrounding some of our, I'm gonna call them our elite athletes who do, we've had some very talented gymnasts and soccer players who play at a different caliber, and the notion that districts often will give elective or PE credit for those types of activities, and so that's something we can bring back. It's not uncommon in terms of looking at that policy.
Along those same lines, and we kind of touched on this minimally, just in passing, about the late start and whether or not that's been a success, and is there any relief in sight if it has not been a success?
So actually at the state level, there have been surveys that have gone out or have come to us regarding what we've seen regarding the impact of late start. And so I do believe there is conversation at the state level and gathering of information about districts' response to it, and has it proven to be effective in terms of what they were trying to accomplish. So they are gathering feedback, and there is conversation about whether or not there'll be any types of revision to the late start policies.
Because I think Marysville was able to opt out claiming they're a rural school district?
Yes, so rural school districts are able to submit and opt out.
We're not rural enough to do that?
We don't designate ourselves rural when we're applying for grants and funding,
Gotcha.
so we didn't look to that as an option as an opt-out.
Okay, next board meeting is March 12th at 7 PM here at the district office. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, on a motion by member Goody and a second by member Lamb, all those in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none.